It is Locked On Jazz for the 23rd of January. Brooklyn made it tough on our guys, a good learning experience, and a sign that are still lots of steps to learn. It is trade season, and it's a lot more difficult than it's made to seem. We'll explain using Malik Beasley and Trends Monday. Who's hot? Who's not? It's all coming up on today's edition of Locked On Jazz.
You are Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
How are you? I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. This is Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz, giving you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. Thank you so much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day. We are free. We are available on all podcasting apps. We are on YouTube where you can sign in, chat with the community, have a good time. Please follow or subscribe on any of those platforms. We love to have you aboard. And thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Maybe from a fan standpoint, a weekend without Jazz games is not fun. From my standpoint, honestly, it's kind of cool. Actually, 2 days off is just cool. I'll explain in a second. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. Today's PrizePicks.com. PrizePicks.com, promo code LOCKEDON. So, love the gig. Want to do it forever. You're going to have to tap me on the shoulder when it's over and tell me I suck. If I ever... So, don't misunderstand. When the season's on the roll, you finish calling a game, the next day you start to prep for the next game, then you call a game, and then you just kind of stay in that hamster wheel. When you get 2 days off, you actually get a day to like watch the league, read about the league, hang out, do something. So it's kind of great. So that's why I said the 2 days off is great. So last night, watched Charlotte, three Charlotte games and prep for them. But on the day before, you got to kind of just watch the league and see what's going on. So super fun. Hope you had a good weekend. If you're a skier, hope you got the slopes. All right. I thought Friday was really interesting because Friday was tough on Walker and Laurie. And a lot of our attention at this point is on Walker and Laurie. And there were unique matchups. Ben Simmons at 6'10" has the physicality and the athleticism to match Lauri Markkanen. That's a unique matchup. And Ben Simmons' minutes that night were pretty similar to Lauri Markkanen's minutes. Like, if you actually kind of dig into it, it was kind of interesting to watch. So Lauri opened the night 0 for 3 in the first quarter. He had 3 rebounds, but he plays his opening kind of 6 minutes, 5 minute and 37 second stint, and he ends up, we're minus 11. We get blasted early, and he's 0 for 3. He then comes back in at the end of the first quarter, and Ben Simmons is not on the floor. He goes 1 for 2, hits a 3, kind of gets a little rhythm. Lauri's playing in 3 stints. He stays out there. And I'll have to go back and look, but again, he has a decent stretch, and then he comes back in his last stretch and of the second quarter, and Ben Simmons is on the floor, and he gets 1 shot off in 4 minutes. So then he opens the third quarter, and he gets 1 shot in 8 minutes. And Ben Simmons pretty close to matching him for that entire stretch. The Jazz stretched Lauri out an extra minute or 2 than usual. And then in the fourth quarter, Lauri plays the entire fourth quarter, which really almost forced Ben Simmons to play the entire fourth quarter. Lauri got it going a little bit. And Simmons caused Lauri problems for what I said. He's as big. He's as quick. He's defensive-minded because he doesn't want to play offense. He's incredibly physical on Lauri. And so he really was able to get into him. And he did a wonderful job. And Lauri, couldn't get free for threes the way he wanted to until the fourth quarter. And then trying to put the ball on the deck, he tried to be physical and overpower Ben, and that wasn't a great matchup for him. On the night, officially, Lauri takes 4 shots when guarded by Ben Simmons and goes 2 for 4. according to the data, they say he guarded him for 6 minutes and 18 seconds, which is actually a lot. Everybody else going to guard him. Nobody else guarded him for more than 210. But so, according to the data, Lauri only got 4 shots off against Ben Simmons, and all of them were threes. So that's Ben Simmons going to help. We get it back to Lauri. He goes 2 for 4. He really struggled to get many good look twos off in that game. Pretty impressive by Ben Simmons. Like, let's give credit. Like, this is one of the best defensive players in the world, who's got, serious mental health issues and anxiety issues around his offensive game, and he's figuring out a way to stay in the NBA. It's kind of, frankly, I would take it as a pretty incredible story. 10 of Lauri's 16 shots were threes that night. He still finished with 22 points and 11 rebounds, but anybody who watched that game knows he didn't have the impact. And so now Lauri, who's incredibly diligent, we've told the story about when he was, 10, 11, 12 years old, taking, 60 elbow jump shots and marking down the numbers and judging himself and then leaving himself a new goal. Will, I'm sure, go watch film, analyze what he saw, and then when we go to Brooklyn, when do we go to Brooklyn? Coming out of Toronto, or do we go later in the season? I think we go later. Later in April on the backside of Boston. And when we go there in late April, if Ben Simmons is on the floor, this will be an opportunity for Lauri to show his next level development. But I thought it was a really interesting game in that sense that, hey, here's a guy who had the ability to do to Lauri what he does to everybody else. Same thing happened to Walker. So Walker had a pretty quiet night. Well, Nick Claxton's super good. Nick Claxton, who you probably don't think of as one of the best rim defenders in the NBA, is bouncy, long, similarly sized, probably one of the few bigs at this point who's more active than and runs as hard, if not faster. At 6'11", at 215 pounds, he'd better run if he doesn't. And Walker came out, and I don't think he did anything wrong, but he at 7 feet, 245, this guy was quicker and more agile and ran the floor and played with more juice than some of the other guys he's played. And Walker finished the night with 2 points and 6 rebounds and a -14. And if you look at the first quarter of this game, Nick Claxton comes out and has 3 for 4 shooting, plus 12 in his opening 7 minutes, almost all of which were head-to-head with Walker Kessler. They checked out at the exact same time. Claxton comes back in when Walker's not on the floor and does a little damage. And then the two of them only spend a tiny bit of time on the floor together in the second quarter, where Walker actually doesn't get a shot off, and Claxton finishes the quarter going up against Vando, who closes that second quarter. We go back to the third quarter, and they match up against each other again. And Walker -6, he does go 1 of 2. Claxton in that time period, 2 of 2, 2 of 4 from the free throw line, a rebound and an assist, kind of puts on him. And then they play again in the final stint in the fourth quarter, where Walker comes back in. Walker doesn't have much of an impact, and Claxton has another pretty good stretch, 2 blocks, +8, 1 of 1, 1 of 2 from the floor. This is again, okay, now what do? I got a guy who my forte is I'm outrunning people, I'm out hustling people, I've got great length. Oh, this guy has equal length, more bounciness, and he runs as hard. Oh, so what do? Like, this is the lesson. These are the lessons. So I thought that night was really interesting because the two guys we have most of our focus on right now had a tough night. And then the switching defense of Brooklyn got into us and got us really, really one-dimensional, and their physicality, I think Will even said it, we gave into their physicality, and their switching defense got us playing one-on-one, which happens all the time. And they, frankly, did the same thing last night. Like, if you go look at last night's game against the Warriors, where they end up coming from behind to winning it 120-116, and they don't lead this game for much of anything other than the final 2 minutes. They led for a snippet in the third quarter, and they led the first quarter. But they're down as many as, I think, 17 in the first half of that game. And the Golden State Warriors, who are pretty darn good, in the final I think it was final 5:42, had 1 field goal from Jonathan Kuminga. And they had 2 free throws from Kayvon Looney and 2 free throws from Steph Curry. Otherwise, they scored 6 points in the final 5:42 of that game. They led 110-98 with 5:42 left and lost. So that's a huge win for Brooklyn. last night. For those of you watching on YouTube, you just saw I have a hole in my lip. Well, actually, you probably can't tell. But I think that's, so Brooklyn's doing this to a lot of people, and I think this was Jacques Vaughn's team had a major, major turning point this weekend with a Friday win in Salt Lake and a Sunday win at San Francisco against the Warriors. That's a big moment for them without KD. They had struggled. They were 0-4 when we saw them. We don't need to talk about them more, but Kyrie had not played one of those games and kind of had left some people wondering, and now I think that's a massive moment for them. So I thought that was really interesting. And I think it's a good reminder. Like, our guys are not finished products; they are very exciting, and the season is a massive success. I thought it was an interesting way that I think Tony Jones got asked about it. Like, this season's a massive success. We found Lauri, Markkanen, we found Walker Kessler, and Ochai Agbaji is suddenly a rotation player. Like, the season already is a massive success. Now, do we make the playoffs? Do we make the play-in? Those kind of things are worth conversations on other days. It's going to be super interesting to see what happens. And I don't think that actually impacts, at least from my standpoint, whether this season's a success or not. From your standpoint, I could understand that it might feel a little bit differently than that. Monday edition of today's show is brought to you by our good friends over at Murdoch Chevy, located in Woods Cross, also located in Logan. The Murdochs have been in Utah for over 80 years, and the Chevy is Americana. It is the Silverado and the Colorado truck, and right now, no payments for 90 days. You drive it home at 2.99% for 5 years on the incredible 2023 Silverado truck. Plus cash allowances available for it. The SUV lineup is pretty outstanding. It starts with the Suburban and the Tahoe you know so well, then the Trailblazer and the Blazer, Traverse, Equinox, and the Trax. If you're looking for the electric car, the Bolt has taken names for people, and get in line for the new electric Silverado truck. That's coming as well from Chevy. It's all at Murdoch Chevy, located at located in Woods Cross, also located in Logan. Excited to have you guys check it out. If you're going to head over there, feel free to email me first at dlock09@gmail.com to get yourself the VIP treatment from the Murdochs and Murdoch Chevy. Today's show is also brought to you by our friends over at PrizePicks. PrizePicks, 100% deposit match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. What a fun way to get involved. Whatever sport it might be. It could be a night of NBA action you're looking for. Could be the NFL playoffs. Could be the WNBA this summer. Frankly, they say it could be disc golf or Eurobasket or cricket or esports. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's easy, safe, and fast withdrawals. Currently operational in 30 or more states. Download the PrizePicks app. Go to prizepicks.com. Sign up. Play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. If you deposit $100, you get $100. You deposit $50, $50, $72, $50, $72, $50, $220, $100. Don't forget to enter Locked On. Sign up for the instant deposit match up to $100. Thanks so much for making Locked On your first listen of the day. We are free. We are available on all podcasting apps for you, as you probably know listening right now. For your second listen, 22-minute takedown on the day in sports and the weekend in the NFL. Locked On Sports Today. If you have a dog, cat, job, house, spouse, anything that takes your time so you can't keep up to everything on the sports world, then go for it with Locked On Sports Today. All right, I was reading SLC Dunk. Thank goodness they still exist. For all those out there, got let go by SB Nation. Locked On sends their support. That sucks. They do a great job. So I'm a fan. Huge fan of Dan Clayton. Huge fan of the crew. They do great work. So they did a thing on Malik Beasley's trade rumors are in high demand. And then there's another thing I keep hearing, which is everyone talks about Bojan Bogdanovic. The Jazz should have got a first-round pick on Bojan Bogdanovic. Okay, well, let's see if Detroit goes and gets a first-round pick on Bojan Bogdanovic, because I think his value is probably way higher today than it was or it is when we were talking about this with the Jazz. I mean, he's having an incredible year. He's done remarkable things shooting. He's proven to be, that guy again. And I think, probably one of the most dead-eye shooters in the league. Let's see if Detroit goes and gets for him. Because as I'm about to show you, it's super hard to do these deals. So let's go to Sean Devaney of Heavy.com, which I don't know what Heavy is, but Sean's been around for a long time. Talks about that Malik Beasley is particularly popular in the trade deadlines, and he mentions the Nets, the Heat, the Cavs, and the Bucks. Okay. I apologize to Malik for doing this, but I think Malik's aware that this is going on, and I'm not trying to say the Jazz are going to trade Malik. I just want to show everyone else how difficult this actually is. So let me see if this works. I hadn't really planned to show it to everybody, but now, all right, it is not working. I was going to show you, I was going to go do the NBA trade. Let's see, actually, this might work. Let's see what happens. Nope. No work. Okay. I was going to try to show you guys a screen of the ESPN trade machine, which I have a sneaking suspicion most of you know exists and can probably figure out all by yourself without me showing it to you. So let's just walk through this for a second. And without the visual, for those on podcasts, it's no different. For those on YouTube, I think you'll be fine. So Sean Devaney says Malik Beasley getting very popular ahead of the trade deadline. And so our reaction is like, oh, we're going to get a first-round pick for Malik Beasley. Okay, well, let's walk through this. Let's take the first team he mentions, which is the Brooklyn Nets. Okay, so Malik Beasley makes $15.5 million. And the trick here on all these trades is you have to bring back something awfully close to $15.5 million, particularly if you're over the cap, and which the Jazz are. And the Jazz have now moved to $7 million below the tax line because of the Bojan Bogdanović trade, which gives them way more flexibility. But just $15 million. So if you look at the Nets, Joe Harris is making 18. Royce O'Neal's making 9. Nick Claxton's making 9. Seth Curry's making 9. Patty Mills is making 6.5. Okay, so Malik Beasley for Joe Harris works just right across, but they're not going to do that. Joe Harris has got 2 years left on his deal at 18, and I'm not sure that Malik Beasley's better than Joe Harris unless they really think his ankle's broken. In fact, Joe Harris has been the best shooter in the league. Royce O'Neal at $9 million, they're probably not going to do that. Nick Claxton, they're certainly not going to do that. And Seth Curry is a better shooter or as good a shooter as Malik Beasley, so I don't think they're going to do that. So now you're suddenly piecing together Patty Mills, Cam Thomas, Devontae Sharp, Ed Sumner. And if you take all those guys, Patty Mills is at 6.5, and then Cam Thomas is at 2.1, and then Devontae Sharp, and then Ed Sumner, and you try to put them all together, the trade still barely works. Patty Mills, Cam Thomas, Devontae Sharp, Ed Sumner. And now the Jazz release half those players because they just did a fourth one. And then you're going to want to pick with them. That's what it actually takes. And maybe that's fine. Maybe that is actually what that trade would be. But, and 4-for-1, there's probably some league rules that get a little funky in here with roster spots and some things like that make it a little bit more complicated. But according to the trade machine, that's the only way really you can make that trade work. And you have to decide, the Jazz have to decide whether they think Cam Thomas is an interesting player to add or something of that sort. But that one, there's no easy answer there. So if you're getting a pick, you're getting 4 players in a pick, most of which you're releasing, or the Jazz then have to release 3 players immediately. And there are some complications inside of that. Okay, let's go to Miami. My point here is that it's neat to throw these names around, but is there actually a viable deal that gets done? So again, Beasley's at 16. We can do the same thing with Jordan. He's at 13.3. We can do the same thing with Kelly. He's at 12. We can do the same thing with, Jared Vanderbilt's different because he's only at 4. So Jimmy Butler's 37, Bam's 30, Kyle Lowry's 28. You get to Duncan Robinson at 16. So Duncan Robinson has 4 years left on his deal at $16 million, and that's what Miami wants to trade, and they're probably going to have to give up picks with it. And Miami's a little limited on what their picks are. Otherwise, you literally cannot do the trade for Malik Beasley. Dwayne Dedmon makes 4.7. They don't want to trade their rookie. And Gabe Vincent's at 1.8. Max Strus is at 1.8. Highsmith, who plays at 1.7. Literally, you can't do it. They're not trading Caleb Martin and Victor Oladipo. I don't think they're regular rotation players, and that's the problem here is that teams that are good don't really want to trade other players that are in their rotation that are playing. So the Miami one, like, it's cute that Miami gets mentioned, but like, they're only Duncan Robinson being mentioned. So we go to Cleveland. Next one he mentioned. Again, Malik's at 16, Clarkson's at 13, Olynyk's at 12, Taylor Horton-Tucker's at 10, and Vando's at 4. So they have Donovan at 30, Love at 28, Jaren Allen at 20, Karis LeVert at 18, Darius Garland at 8, Evan Mobley at 8, C.D. Osman at 7.5, Isaac Okoro at 7, Ricky Rubio at 5, Windler at 4, Neto at 1.8, Lopez at 1.8. So you got to get to 15.5 million. So it means that you probably have to trade either, well, Karis LeVert would be a possibility if you just think Malik Beasley's better, which I actually do. So that would just be a straight up trade. And then the Jazz have to, we also own all of their picks, 5 of them. The next pick we can get from them is like 2030. Maybe 2029. I'd have to go. Yeah, no, we have 2029 already. And we have 2 pick swaps. So, like, Cleveland's cute to mention, and I agree, Malik Beasley, they're desperate. Cleveland's desperate for Malik Beasley. But, like, Isaac Okoro and Ricky Rubio? Is that what we're doing? And that doesn't work. You then have to add in, maybe it does work. I forgot to add in Malik Beasley. And that does work. Okay, so it's Isaac Okoro and Ricky Rubio. So they give up on Isaac Okoro. We have to decide whether we want Isaac Okoro. But again, there's like one option there to make this deal done. These aren't complicated. Like, there's just, and then they have to decide that they're willing to give up all those players. Milwaukee's been mentioned. That would, like, Milwaukee, $15 million. It's Grayson Allen at 8.5 plus Pat Connaughton's got 4 years left at $4 million, $5 million. Like, they're not doing that. George Hill's at $4 million. Okay, you could put George Hill along with, they're not trading Giannis, Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis. Grayson Allen's at 8.5 for 2 years. Malik Beasley's at 15 for 2 points. Like, the difference between those, Grayson Allen and Malik Beasley are pretty similar players. Grayson Allen might be a better player in some ways. He can handle maybe a little better. Malik's probably a better dead-eye shooter. Joe Ingles at 6.5. They're not trading that. Like, it just doesn't, they're not trading Pat Connaughton at 5.7 4-year contract. Like, it's the best, maybe the best contract value. It just doesn't actually work. The last one that's being mentioned a lot is New Orleans. That one, actually, you can find Devontae Graham, but 3 years, and then they have a bunch of extra picks. So you're taking Devontae Graham, and this one actually works really easily, Garrett Temple for Malik Beasley. Okay, and that trade works, and they get their shooter, and they move off Devontae Graham. It doesn't quite match where they are. And the Jazz have to swallow 2 years of an extra year of Devontae Graham and figure out whether they want to do it. And the Jazz probably need somebody who can play some semblance of point guard after Mike Conley. I don't know that Devontae Graham's that guy, but it's better than what we probably have right now. And then you hopefully are getting one of their multitude of picks that they have in various Laker deals. So that one kind of works a little bit. But this is my point, is that we can sit around and talk about these trades, and yes, you can find things that work, but it's really difficult. And so as we head into the trade season here, which is now, 14 days away, and I apologize to Malik for using him as the example. I could have done the same thing with Jordan or Kelly or anyone. It's just not, it's great to mention names, but then like take the next step and dig in like, oh, what is it? What is it? Like, it's really not hard to figure out what it is, and then it's really hard to figure it out and actually make it work. Like Miami, you're really taking 3 years of Duncan Robinson's contracts? Probably not. Milwaukee, that just didn't work. Brooklyn, we were pressing pretty hard to find that one to work. Right? Like, just doesn't really, nothing, it's hard to get these things to come together. Much more difficult than we make it sound out there. And I think that's important to understand. So like on Bojan and Detroit, like, let's see. Maybe they will get a first-round draft pick. That would be great. Good for them. I'd be very excited for them. I'd be very excited for Bojan to be able to go to a team. But Bojan, and now Bojan as an extension, is making $20 million. So now you have to go piece together $20 million to get him to a roster. Like, you keep hearing the Lakers. So that's Patrick Beverley and Kendrick Nunn. They can get it done. They can put together $18.5 million to get that done. Okay, that's great that they have those two pieces. That trade will work. And they should do that trade, and they should give up a first-round pick because they'd be way better, and they would make the playoffs, and they actually might be one of the favorites in the West if they made that deal. But they don't seem to be doing those things. Today's show is brought to you in part by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel, the sportsbook that you all know and love out there. FanDuel, we're really excited to announce our new sports betting partner on Locked On because they're the number one sports book in America. And if you're new to FanDuel, that's even better. They have so many great features. They make betting so fun and easy. New customers can join today in honor of this and get started with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Sign up at FanDuel.com/LockedOn. FanDuel has all your favorite bets from the money line to point spreads to player props. Plus, you can even combine your bets for a larger and bigger payout on same-game parlay. All the apps that are safe, secure, and super easy to use. So football fans, don't miss out on this championship weekend. Place your first $5 bet and get $150 in free bets, win or lose, at FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports book partner of the NFL, and excited to have FanDuel as a part of Locked On. Thanks so very much for making Locked On your first listen of the day. We do have Game to Game back up and running at Locked On NBA for you. All right, let's do Trends Monday. Let's start with, we've switched this. We now start with the last 10 games, and the Denver Nuggets are the hottest team in the NBA with a differential of plus 14. They're 9-1 this span. Memphis is second at 9.5. Sacramento is third at plus 8.8. The fourth hottest team in the NBA over the last 10 games is the Oklahoma City Thunder at plus 7.6. They did get Denver without Jokic. Boston, so 4 Western Conference teams. Then Boston at plus 7. And then it falls off the map to Philly at plus 3.7 and Chicago at plus 2.7. The Jazz are 13th over the last 10 games, which probably seems appropriate. Offensively, Sacramento is far and away the best offensive team in the NBA right now. Mike Brown's doing a nice job there with that. 127 offensive rating over 10 games. These numbers are astronomical, but listen to this. They're 127. Denver's 123. Philly's 120 is the third best. So Sacramento is 7 points more per 100 possessions than the third best team over the last 10 games, which is the difference between the third best team and the 21st best team in the league. Sacramento's on another planet right now, offensively. And they're playing super fast and getting after it. And they've interestingly played 1,000 possessions in 10 games, which I kind of love, just 100 a game. Toronto's the 4th best offensive team, Memphis 5th, New York 6th, and the Jazz are the 7th best offensive team over the last 10 games. Best defenses in the NBA, Brooklyn won. We saw that, and so did the Warriors. And that's not going up against, like, pansy offenses. And Durant was playing great, too. Denver 2, Memphis 3, Miami 4, Oklahoma City 5, Boston 6, Phoenix 7. All right, who cannot score right now? Phoenix is the last offense in the NBA. Indiana without Halliburton 2-9. Houston's lost 10 straight. They're the 3rd worst offense. Detroit, and then New Orleans without Ingram and Williamson, and finally worn down in Brooklyn without the services of Kevin Durant. Miami right after that. Defenses, who's not defending? Houston's the worst defense. Dallas, the 2nd worst. San Antonio is 3rd worst. Charlotte, who we'll see tonight, is the 4th worst defense in the NBA over the last 10. They're 3 of their last 7, though. They've won 2 in a row. Great comeback against Atlanta. Knicks and the Clippers not defending after that. Worst teams in the NBA over the last 10 games: Houston, San Antonio, Detroit, Indiana. Dallas has lost 7 of 10. That one's worth watching. Phoenix is next, and then Charlotte. All right, let's look at the more recent trend of the last 2 weeks. The number 1 team over the last 2 weeks is Sacramento. According to Cleaning the Glass non-blowout minutes, they're plus 15. Memphis, Denver, Boston, Oklahoma City, Philadelphia. The number 1 offense is, again, Sacramento. According to Cleaning the Glass, they're a 131 over the last 2 weeks. This is crazy. Toronto's next at 123. So Sacramento is 8.6 points better than the 2nd best, and 8.6 difference between Toronto at number 2 gets you to the 21st ranked offense. Sacramento on another planet right now offensively. Crazy. I love these trend things. You just catch these. I would not have, I knew they were playing well. I didn't know it was to this level. So the top offenses over the last 2 weeks are Sacramento, Toronto, Denver, Clippers, Philly, Memphis, New York, and Atlanta. The top defenses are Miami, Memphis, Oklahoma City, Boston, Chicago, Denver, and Brooklyn. The Jazz over the last 2 weeks are 13th in differential, 13th in offense, 17th in defense. 17th in defense. That's huge stride for us defensively from 26 to be 17th in the league defensively. So that's pretty exciting. Teams that are not defending or not scoring are Indiana, Brooklyn, New Orleans, Phoenix, Detroit, and Orlando. Teams that are not defending are Charlotte, the worst in the league over the last 2 weeks. We see them tonight. Houston, San Antonio, Dallas, New York, Clippers, and Indiana. And then the teams that are struggling the most, Indiana without Halliburton, Houston, Detroit, San Antonio, Orlando, and Dallas. So things to keep an eye on, Sacramento's offense and Dallas overall. That would be the two things I would tell you. That is Locked on Jazz today. We'll have a late game watch tomorrow. I'm way behind on games, so I'll try to get them in today or after the game tonight. And Jazz and the Hornets before we head to Portland tomorrow to go see Dame and ask him what he thinks of Patrick Beverley. Have a great one. Thanks so very much for tuning in to Locked on Jazz. Talk to you soon.